Now, we can do the same thing for the other one. So if we come over to this guy, come over to emitters, and as a recap, what are we going to do? First thing, I want to set the texture over to the correct texture. So dink, now he's the correct texture. Beam, we need to set this to actor. Come to beam endpoints, add one, and the actor tag is going to be, in this case, what is it at?
Spike 1.
Exactly. So spike 1, and look at that. He starts shooting at that guy.
Cool.
Now, of course, we need to come down to general, set this max particles to 1.
We need to go under time and set the life of it.
Yes, exactly. Time, set this to 0.1 to 0.1. And finally, we need to come up to beam noise and change the high frequency noise range to 10 and negative 10 for all three of these guys. So 10, negative 10, 10, negative 10, 10, negative 10. Nah, negative 40, negative 10. Negative.
And high frequency points down to 5.
Exactly. So look at that. Now we have them shooting back and forth lightning bolts. How cool is that? Now, what if we wanted to come in here and add branches? Now, what does this mean? Well, if you think about a lightning bolt, there's different branches on the lightning bolt. How would you go about doing this? Well, we have another special tab, beam branching. So if you look in here, the main thing you have to worry about is our branch emitter. Right now it's set to -1, which means, well, we're not referencing any other emitters.
Okay.
What this is going to do is it's going to divide our lightning bolt into sections and say, I want you to emit particles right here, or right here, or right here. So it adds different branches. Well, we're going to need another emitter to specify how it's going to emit. So if we come back up to emitters, let's go ahead and do this. Add another emitter, and we want it to be a beam emitter. So create new.
Alright.
Now, the second, the very, index 0, excuse me, I'm getting my tongue all tied up here.
Sure.
The index 0, if we come into here, this is the main branch that we have here.
Right, that's the first beam that we actually created.
That's right. So we want to come into beam branching and set branch emitter over to index 1, which is going to be our new beam emitter.
Okay.
And we want to set use branching to true. Now, we're not going to see anything yet, but let's first make sure that the second emitter that we set up works properly. So let's just come over to our second one, which is index 1. Okay, and this is 0 based.
Alright.
Come over to texture, set the texture equal to our bolt emitter. So it's doing some really crazy stuff here. If we come over to our beam, instead of velocity, we'll set this over to distance. And we'll set the distance range to something like 200 and 100. So how far it's going to be shooting out.
Okay.
And now if we come down, we need to set up one more thing, and that is the velocity, so it actually does shoot out. So we come down to velocity, come down to start velocity range, and in each of the axes we'll add maybe 50 in velocity. Just something so that it can shoot the beams out.
Alright, cool.
It's the distance that's going to actually determine how far it's going to shoot out.
Sure. So this is just how quickly it's going to shoot out.
Right. So look at that.
Oh, very cool.
So now it has stuff shooting out. Of course, it's only shooting out of the inside here. So what we're going to need to do is come back to the very first emitter we created, which is the main branch. Come into its beam branching tab here. Now, we do have branch emitter set to 1, so it's referencing the second emitter. We have use branching set to true. Now, branch HF high points range. What this is allowing us to do is it's basically the range of high frequency points of the beam.
Okay.
So how many will it allow? For us, we want to set this to a max, some large number, so we don't really have to worry about it.
Okay.
So 1,000 is good. This is also influenced, if we come down to beam noise, the number of high frequency points. In our case, it's only 5, so 1,000 is a little bit big, but it doesn't matter.
Right, but essentially it's just like using everything we've got.
That's right. Actually, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
So what we can do is come down here. Now, branch probability. This is basically setting the chance of the branches to appear. So how likely is it for them to appear? Also, if we set max, okay, this is going to make sense. If we set min to 0 and max to 1, it should distribute our branches evenly across the entire thing.
Okay.
So if that's what we want to set up there. Now, branch spawn amount range. What we want this to be is to set how many branches can be at each of these individual points. So if we set max and min to 1, it will only create, oh, look at that.
Oh, very cool.
So we have all sorts of branches going on here. So what this allows us to do is at each high frequency point, because it's dividing our entire main line, if you will, into separate segments.
Right,
and
5 segments to be
5
exact.
segments, right. At this segment, do we want how many branches? How many are we allowed? Right now, only one branch is allowed to be at that one particular segment.
Well, that makes sense.
If we set this to, say, 10, we could have 10 all at one spot here. So it's going to be more segmented, if you will.
Up to 10. So we're getting a bit of a variation.
Yeah, that's right. If we come and set both min and max to 10, it's going to shoot like 10 off of each branch.
Out of each high-frequency point.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So we set this to 1. Now we can come down into our second emitter and start tweaking this guy out. So maybe we don't want him to go out so far. We can say, okay, 120. So look at that. Now it's very short branches.
Very cool.
And maybe we can even come into color and say, opacity, you turn down. So now the branches are less opaque. Trying to spit it
more
out there.
Transparent.
And more transparent. Thank you.
They have more see-throughness.
Hey, see-throughness. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So that's all there is to branching. Now, that basically wraps it up. I really wanted to show this beam branching thing. That was kind of cool. So
yeah,
I'll throw
that is
out
pretty
there.
wicked.
We didn't see it in the intro, but, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah.
So I guess with that, that's going to wrap up this lesson. The next lesson, all we're going to do is set up the mesh emitter of our boulders falling down, and that'll wrap it up. So, thanks, everyone.
Cool.